Good morning, everyone. It's Tech for Senior. It's episode 112, and it is May the 16th, a lovely day here. The rain has finally stopped after a week of rain. The sun is out, and it's a north wind blowing, which means all you people in Victoria and southern Vancouver Island, we're sending you some nice weather. We got 70 people in the audience today with a bunch more people over on our YouTube feed. So welcome everybody. Welcome to Tech for Senior. I say this each week. We all appreciate you coming. It is so important because we get our enthusiasm and our energy from you coming and listening. So that's great. We have a lot happening this week. As you know, we have our show today, which will be is broadcast not just here, but is broadcast over onto YouTube. On Thursday, we will be having our Tech for Senior Live, which is unbelievable growth in that. It's amazing. And we have this week the gadget guy, Bill James, is going to be on this Thursday. Give a wave to everybody. He is going to thrill us with some gadgets, which of course will be fun. Last week, if you haven't, you should go back and watch it because we did Google I/O which they announced a lot of new products. We reviewed all those last Thursday, and that was a lot of fun to see all the new products that Google will be having out this coming year. The new watch, the new phone, and goes on and on and on. Then, of course, we podcast our Thursday show, which is so you can listen to our podcast. And then in another about 10 days, Hewie and I have learning Chromebooks again. So where's Hewie? Hewie, where'd you go? Oh, there you are. You're right underneath me. Yeah, we were talking about that yesterday, and I said, oh my gosh, the months go by so fast. It was just like yesterday that we did the last one, and we have another learning Chromebook session coming up. So it is incredibly busy. So yes, it is. So again, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to introduce everybody in a minute. However, I want to acknowledge Dewey Kloos. Dewey, of course, has been on the show for a couple of years now. Dewey's a longtime friend of mine. We met in Mesa, Arizona. And as you know, he is a very unique individual. In other words, he's at 88 years old to do a weekly presentation and all the stuff he does. I can only hope that I will be a fraction of Noah's fraction of what Dewey knows as time goes on. So Dewey's going to be taking a sabbatical. This is his last show but he'll be here and he'll be watching and listening and so on and so forth. He once told me, he said, he's a teacher all his life, and he got into the sound recording business, but he was a teacher. And he said, you can never beat the teacher out of me. So he told me that personally a number of years ago, and I believe that. So I think that we'll be hearing more from Dewey in the future as summer comes along, and he's going to give us an update, I hope, on his his barbecue and his mower, and tell us all the things that he's doing. So we wish him well. And I know, Dewey, do you want to give us a wave there? I know he's certainly watching, and we'll be listening to he has his final episode today. But I said, we're not going to say goodbye. We're going to put you on a sabbatical so he can come back and anytime he wants, and just we'll just play whatever you want. You have seniors' rights now, Dewey. You can talk on anything you want, and we'll tell you can talk as long as you want. There you go. that's a promise. That's a there you go. So
he's our roving reporter.
Our roving reporter, indeed. That is true. So anyway, I think the whole gang's here today. Hewie, have you got anything you want to say?
I just glad to be here. I woke up this morning, no dirt on top. I'm happy.
You're happy. Now, Bob, of course, Hewie and I were talking on Saturday morning when we planned the show, and Bob hadn't got his segment in yet, which is very unlike Bob. He always sends it to me by Friday. And Hewie and I had a good friend of ours die this week. In other words, we were watching him on the show, and then the next day he wasn't there. And I was talking to Huey, he was talking to me, and we were looking at each other and said, I hope nothing's happened to Bob. So anyway, you're here. Are you here? Are you alive? Everything's okay?
Yeah, no such luck. I'm still here.
All right, there you go. And Ray,
Yes,
what's new in Pine?
alive and
Arizona?
well in Arizona, and I think I talked about before. I have these music listening clubs. There's
Yeah.
one I'm on weekly with some buddies in Phoenix, and another one I do in the area. I started a third one last night.
Oh,
And,
really?
it was nice. Two couples came over and we spent a couple of hours, and they commented, watching music videos is so much better than watching a movie together. With a movie together, you're engrossed and you just watch the movie. Here, there's a lot of chatter going back and forth and interaction and learning. So we have a good time doing that.
Last 2 years ago, when my brother came over, we sat out on the deck, and he said, you know what we do at home? And I said, what? And he said, let's go. He went and got my Sonos speaker. I've got a Sonos, and we set it on the table outside, and there was about 6 of us. And as you went around the table, everyone got to choose a song, and you asked the Sonos to play the song, and it went back, and what a fun evening that was. Like, we listening to all the oldies, and everyone had their favorite song, and you just asked it to play it, and it played it. It was pretty cool, eh?
Yeah, that's exactly what a music listening club is. And as I said, very enjoyable and better than just watching a movie where everybody's quiet. You have opportunities for interaction.
Last night we had a moon watching party. It was here in the eastern part of the U.S. We were able to see the lunar eclipse, and so we were howling at the moon throughout the evening.
Hey, Ray, that new Sonos speaker they called Ray,
Yes,
it's getting a lot of publicity. I don't know if you've been following that, but that's pretty cool.
you introduced that to me last Thursday.
Yeah, last Thursday
I
we
haven't
were
looked
talking
into
about
it yet, but I will.
It's getting a lot of PR. Then, of course, we have Dewey. Well, Dewey, I know that do you have anything you want to say before we start your segment?
Well, not particularly. I'm still here, and we'll just have to see what happens. Okay.
You're on sabbatical. You can come back anytime you want. All right.
Okie dokie.
Okay. And Bill James,
Yeah,
your
you
Chromebook
always
died. You killed your Chromebook, but I know you did that on purpose so you could buy a new one.
Well, not really, but I think it's gone. But speaking of music, here I've gone to what they refer to as Singo. It's a play on bingo, except it's musical, and they play musical tunes, and you use your phone. Saham, I think is what it's called, and it
Shazam.
identifies the music, and you just mark the box. That's a lot of fun too. I think that could be applied to a home game as well.
There you go.
Yeah, there's two programs like that on your phone. Shazam is one, Soundhound is the other.
Soundhound. I was trying to think of that name last night. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So we there's a lot of bars and restaurants that are doing that for as entertainment. Singo, Singo.
I'll look into that.
All right. Just before we get going with Bob's segment, I want to thank Carl Kalinda for his very generous donation to our coffee fund, and also Elaine Larson. Thank you both for your donation. It helps us pay the bills. Thanks so much. Bob, are you ready to roll?
I hope so. Here is the Avast Security News Roundup for the week ending May 13th, 2022. If you find the video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and get involved. Costa Rica declares national emergency over ransomware. In one of its first official acts, Costa Rica new president Rodrigo Chavez declared a national emergency, saying that the country is suffering from cybercriminals and cyber terrorists. The Russian-based Conti ransomware gang claimed responsibility for ongoing attacks through April on the Costa Rican Finance Ministry, Labor Ministry, and Social Services Agency. Last week, the U.S. State Department offered a $10 million reward for information leading to the identification or location of Conti leaders. The attacks began during the previous president's final months in office. For more on this story, see The Guardian. Ukrainian sent to prison for making over $80,000 with stolen passwords. Glib Alexander Ivanov Tolpintsev was sentenced to 4 years in federal prison for decrypting the credentials of thousands of computers worldwide and selling them on the dark web. He was also ordered to pay back illegally made profits over $82,000. In 2020, Polish authorities took Ivanov Tolpintsev into custody and extradited him to the U.S. In February of 2022, he pled guilty to selling usernames, passwords, and personally identifiable information, including dates of birth and social security numbers of the U.S. residents on the dark web. Read more at Cyber News. Starlink fighting for Ukraine on the cyber front. Starlink has been helping tens of thousands of Ukrainian citizens stay connected to the internet during what political scientists call the biggest war in Europe since World War II. In Ukraine, the technology is crucial, with over 150,000 daily users relying on the service to stay online during the war. Since the beginning of the invasion, the Starlink app climbed to the top place among all downloads in Ukraine. Thousands of Starlink terminals were reportedly delivered to Ukraine after the country's vice prime minister expressed concerns that Russia's aggression may disrupt the country's internet connection. See Cyber News for more on this story. Hackers exploit Roblox's scripting engine to install Trojan. Hackers exploit a scripting engine used by Roblox to insert a Trojan file that can break applications, corrupt or remove data, and send information to malicious actors. Cybercriminals continue targeting Roblox, one of the most popular game systems globally, with over 50 million daily users. In April 2021, the Cyber News team investigation found that Roblox app on Android appears to have numerous potential security issues under the hood that could put the platform and its players at risk. Trojans like this can break applications, corrupt or remove data, and send information to the hacker, the company noted. See the whole story at Cyber News. U.S. court jails crooks for online identity fraud. 3 men have been imprisoned for stealing the credentials of tens of thousands of victims and using these to fraudulently obtain credit and tax rebates on a massive scale, the Department of Justice announced. The illicit earnings of the scam, which also involved claiming on falsified tax returns and paying fake vendor accounts opened by Joven, ran to nearly $500,000, seized in cash at Duryev's home in August 2020 by the FBI, along with the personal information of the victims and a stash of credit cards set up in their names. Today's sentencing now holds them accountable for their crimes and should serve as a warning to others involved in this parasitic behavior, said David Walker, an IRS spokesperson. See more at Cyber News. A century-old university shuts down over ransomware attack. While Lincoln College, a liberal arts school, faced many difficulties, cybercrime was the final nail in the organization's coffin. Established in 1865, survived many challenges: the economic crisis of 1887, a major campus fire in 1912, the Spanish flu of 1918, the Great Depression, World War II, and the 2008 global financial crisis. A message of the school's website claims that Lincoln College suffered from a cyber attack last December. The incident thwarted admission activities and hindered access to institutional data. Lincoln College has been serving students from across the globe for more than 157 years. The loss of history, careers, and community of students and alumni is immense, said David Garlick, president of Lincoln College. See the whole story at Cyber News. Twitter's CEO posted, "We need to be prepared for all scenarios." Agrawal responded after Musk puts deal temporarily on hold. Twitter CEO Parag Agrawal acknowledged the possibility that Elon Musk's deal to purchase the company could fall through in a series of tweets this afternoon that sought to explain why he's shaking up Twitter's leadership. Agrawal said that he's still accountable for leading and operating Twitter for the time being, and that his recent changes are meant to build a stronger Twitter and help manage costs. "While I expect the deal to close, we need to be prepared for all scenarios and always do what's right for Twitter," Agrawal said. Read the full story on The Verge. Google's I.O. revealed new security features, including virtual credit cards, account safety status. Google is working on a new virtual card tool that can be used across Android devices and in the Chrome browser on Mac or PC. It's separate from Google Pay, and once a card is added to the service, a virtual card number will be given to the vendor whenever you purchase something online. In the event of a data breach, the virtual card number can be replaced, and you won't have to deal with replacing your physical card. Apple has had the same type of feature for the Apple Card. Google's virtual card are expected to launch this summer. Google also announced a new tool for users' profiles that will alert you if there's an action or step you need to take to better protect your information. The account safety status will show up as a yellow circle around your profile's avatar, letting you know there's something that needs your attention. See more details at ZDNet. This week's must-read on the Avast blog. Listen to Gary Kasparov talk with Avast CISO Jayap Balu on how private sector cybersecurity and cryptocurrencies will shape the future of privacy. Read the article at the link listed below. And that wraps up this week's Avast Security News Roundup. Stay safe, stay secure, and I'll see you again next week. Bye-bye. So now you know why it didn't get to you on Friday.
Unmute myself. Yes, thanks. Thanks, Bob. Wow, lots of information, eh? I'm going to set up my Google Pay on my watch this week. So that's my challenge this week to do. And I want to go to the store and actually pay. I'm going to take my video camera and video my first payment with my Google Pay. So we'll see how that works out. All right, let's get on. We've got Dewey's final segment on EV cars. I wonder if he's going to buy one. I wonder what's anyway, we'll see what he has to say.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Dewey, and my Tech Talk topic for today is EV batteries, a cutting-edge technology challenge. Last week's Tech Talk covered the pros and cons of electric vehicles, plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, and hybrid electric vehicles. I was finishing out writing this Tech Talk when I came across a radio interview with Joanne Muller, transportation specialist at Axios.com, who was saying EV batteries are the new oil and the US is lagging behind Europe and China in the race to make them. She went on to say that the historic shift to electric vehicles will give the US a fresh chance to achieve energy independence, but it will require complex strategic moves that won't pay off for years. There wasn't sufficient time last week to explore the entire article, so I suggested that I might cover it this week. According to Joanne Muller, the big picture is that most of today's advanced batteries, both for powering cars as well as storing clean energy, are sourced in Asia. Demand for batteries will skyrocket in the coming decades, and if the U.S. wants to control its own energy destiny, it will need a secure and resilient supply chain for critical materials and other components needed to make these batteries. If we don't do this, if we don't as a country invest in our supply chain, it will go to the lowest cost country, which is China, says Mike of a battery recycling company. Joanne Muller goes on to know Biden wants half of all vehicles sold in the U.S. to be electric by 2030. The U.S. has only about 5% of the manufacturing capacity needed to hit that target. At the same time, other countries are setting equally aggressive EV battery goals, thus driving up prices for lithium, nickel, and other essential materials for manufacture. In March, Biden invoked the Cold War era Defense Production Act to encourage domestic mining, processing, and recycling of critical materials such as, of course, lithium, nickel, cobalt, graphite, and manganese. Also, the U.S. government has given several foreign companies incentives to build up refining and manufacturing capacity here in the U.S. Meanwhile, some U.S. car makers are scrambling to build their own battery plants to guarantee supplies for upcoming electric vehicles. This is a direct government action into building a heavy industry from scratch, the stuff of presidents past, said Simon Moores, CEO of a London-based Benchmark Mineral Intelligence. There is still a gaping hole in America's efforts, said J.B. Straubel, a Tesla co-founder, who is now the CEO of the battery component company Redwood Materials. Redwood plans to invest more than $2 billion to start building anodes in the U.S. later this year and start building cathodes by 2024. Joanne Muller's article did not include an explanation of why anodes and cathodes are apparently important components in electric vehicle battery technology, so consequently, I decided to check into what part they play, and here's what I learned. Lithium-ion batteries comprise four main parts. One, the cathode, and two, the anode that store the lithium. Three, the electrolyte that carries lithium ions between the anode and cathode. And four, the separator, a thin plastic filter that physically separates the anode and cathode, only allowing ions to pass through. When they're discharging, lithium ions move from the carbon-based anode, that's the negative electrode, through the electrolyte, an organic compound consisting of lithium salts, to the cathode, again the positive electrode, which produces energy in the form of electricity to power the EV. When charging the battery, the process is simply reversed. As I studied this process, I came across an article by Pearl Liu at www.scmp.com. That's the South China Morning Post, that had a different perspective on EV batteries and why they sometimes may catch fire. I knew that lithium batteries in phones and other small devices had a bad reputation for fires. I think Ron even had a fire in his. But are they also dangerous in electric vehicles? Well, Pearl Liu first makes two important points. The electrolyte used in today's lithium ion tends to be volatile and flammable at high temperatures. Two, a number of car makers, including Toyota, are researching the use of solid-state electrolytes instead of liquid electrolytes to solve the problem. And that's Pearl Liu at the lower right. A lithium-ion battery's capacity and voltage is determined by the lithium-based metal used for its cathode. Again, that's the positive electrode, which releases electrons in the battery powering process, as you just heard. Electric vehicle battery types are usually named for their primary components. And there are currently three major types of lithium-ion batteries, and I believe she means manufactured in China, that are used to power today's electric vehicles. One, NCM, in which the cathode, in addition to lithium, is composed of nickel, cobalt, and manganese. Two, LFP, made up of lithium, iron, and phosphate. and 3 NCA consisting of nickel, cobalt, and aluminum. I also learned, but not from Pearl Liu, that General Motors is teaming with South Korea's LG Chem to provide high-tech EV batteries that use less cobalt, which makes cells 1/3 less expensive and also last longer, in fact, much longer, like up to maybe 600 miles. No mention was made, however, of fire safety, and I began to wonder how safe different types of electric vehicles are. I found an answer in the following story. Just last Friday, 3 days ago, May 13th, autoinsuranceez.com updated a previously published story titled Gas versus Electric Vehicles 2022 Findings. To find the rate of car fires by vehicle type, the authors collected the latest data on car fires from the National Transportation Safety Board and also calculated the rate of fires from sales data by the BTS, which is the Bureau of Transportation Statistics. Hybrid EVs, that's plug-in hybrid EVs and hybrid EVs that have both a gas engine and a battery pack, had 3,475 fires per 100,000 sales and scored the worst. Now, gasoline-only powered vehicles ranked second with 1,530 fires per 100,000 vehicles sold. And listen to this. Fully electric vehicles, EVs, scored the best with just 25.1 fires per 100,000 vehicles sold. Well, based on this data, fully electric vehicles like Tesla and Polestar and others don't catch fire nearly as much as claimed in the news. Though EVs are pricier, you're way less likely to burn or burn up in what? Well, that's my Tech Talk story for today, and I am sticking with it. Thanks for watching. Stay safe, and so long.
Well done. Well done. I didn't, that's amazing statistics, Dewey. That's that full EVs have such a low incidence of fires. That's amazing, eh?
I think it's very amazing.
Yeah, that's a
statistic. Might end up getting one, who knows?
I know, you're talking a lot about it. I'm thinking, maybe the old caddy's going to go and, something's going to happen here. But anyway, I'm sure you'll keep us posted. Thank you so much for doing that. And thank you for a great presentation. I'm going to move ahead. We're going to hold questions until with the question and answer. I'm going to move ahead now with my segment, and we'll come over here. And this is actually a follow-up on the email segment that we did last week. Are you a senior that is having trouble understanding their email? Well, today in this video, I'm going to teach you 3 concepts that will make you a pro. Mary has come into our tech department with a problem looking at Google Photos. She has taken a number of photos on her Samsung phone and has uploaded these to Google Photos. She has brought her laptop in, but these pictures are not on Google Photos on the laptop. Her complaint to you in our tech department is the phone is not syncing to the laptop. How would you manage this? And let me show you how easy this is after you understand these 3 concepts I'm going to talk about today. Well, I'm Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. At Tech for Senior, we make videos to help seniors understand technology. If you want to be kept up to date as new videos come out, be sure and click the subscribe and notification bell below. And then we'll send you a personal notification when we release new videos. Now let's get on with understanding these 3 concepts regarding email. Now the first thing you need to know is what the name of your Google account is and its password. This is so important. The name of your Google account is set up originally when you created the account, and it cannot be changed. This is the name that you will always use. You've probably forgotten about that now because it's a long time since you set this up. When you created it, it probably was created as you were accessing a service with Google, or else when you had your first Android phone. And in most cases, it's best to have only one Google account, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And you must know the name and the password of your account. This is so important. It is a lifelong account that you'll use as you purchase new Android phones, or you connect a Chromebook or other service to your Google account. So please know this and don't forget it. Now, the name on your Google account is usually your Gmail address, but not necessarily. When you set your account up, there is an option to choose another name, so it may not always be your Gmail address. Once set up, you cannot change your account name. Now, most of you identify a Google email address as @gmail.com. This is not entirely true. Recently, we saw a big telco company, TELUS.net, in Canada. They got rid of their email service to Gmail. You actually kept your same email address, so it could be 123456 at telus.net, and that now is a Gmail account. So your Gmail account does not always show at gmail.com. So let's have a look and see what you get with your Google account. Well, with your Google account, you get Google Drive, and this is 15 gigabytes of cloud storage. Now within that, you get some software. For all of those who are paying for Office 365, you get Google's version for free. Google Docs is a document processing. Google Sheets is a spreadsheet. And of course, Google Slides is like PowerPoint and presentation software. This software is free and it comes on your Google Drive. You have Gmail, Google Photos, Google Calendar, Google Contact, Google Groups, Google Maps, and Google Sites, which is a web building software and what we use for Tech for Seniors website. If you've been there, you'll see that was built with Google Sites, Google Chat, and you also have the abilities to start a YouTube channel. Plus, there's about 20 or 30 more services associated with your Google account that I'm not going to list today or would be here too long. All this is part of your Google account. So Sally is a retired teacher who you're seeing in our tech department. She tells you the following. She doesn't trust Google. She has an iPhone and an iPad. She uses Apple email service or iCloud Mail, and she tells you she's never had a Google account. In further discussion with you, she does use Google Photos because her friends do. What would you tell Sally, and why would it be important? Well, now that you know what a Google account is, you understand that Google Photos is part of a Google account. So if Sally did create Google Photos, she had to create a Google account. You can't have part of the service. It's sort of all or none. So Sally does have a Google account. Now, why would this be important? Well, she needs to know the name and password of that, because if she ever decides to get an Android phone, then she will need her username and password to get all her Google Photos in the account. Well, you see Larry, the retired accountant who comes to our tech department. He tells you that he doesn't use Google. He only has Office 365, and he has an iPhone for his mobile data. He tells you, though, that he's going to purchase a Samsung S22. What should you tell Larry? Well, as you know, Larry is going to have to establish a Google account with his Android phone. The first thing he'll be asked to do as he sets up his S22 is to put in his Google username and password. The important thing here is I don't believe that Larry has gone all through his life without having a Google account. He probably has a Google account in the past, and it's important that he tries to remember what that is with his Google name and password, because his data will be in there. Very likely he probably has some Google Photos or some services that he's used in the past. If he knows what that is, then he'll be able to access that through his new phone. Now, the second point I'd like to make is it's generally a good idea to just have one email address associated with one Google account. This keeps things simpler, and certainly when you're dealing with mobile issues, causes a lot less confusion. Let's look at Mary's problem that we discussed at the beginning. Mary, in fact, came to Silver Ridge Resort and saw us in our tech department to solve this problem. She was only there for a month, as she told me, as she just got assigned as the secretary to her church. She told me while she was in Mesa, she continued to look at the church's Gmail account and was able to get ready for her job when she returned. She was sending out Gmail through the church's Gmail account. In fact, what Mary had been doing when she was taking pictures around Silveridge, they were being uploaded into the church's Google Photos account. In fact, we saw the last secretary and the secretary before's pictures in the church's Google account. Mary said to me, well, the church does not have a Google Photos account. Again, she doesn't understand that once you have a Gmail account, you have a Google account, and associated with that is a Google Photos account. So the problem was Mary's photos were going into the wrong account, which is common when you are switching accounts on a mobile device. So the third concept that you need to know is do not share your email address. Sharing an email address like Mary and John do is really not a good idea. To have an email address like maryandjohn@gmail.com and share this creates all sorts of problems. It makes security very difficult and two-factor authentication almost impossible. You really should have one Google account and one phone. As your health changes in the future, you may need to limit access to certain accounts, such as your bank account. This becomes very difficult with a shared account. So please, each one of you needs to have their own Google account and their own email address with their own cell phone. So it's Ron Brown with Tech for Senior. The three concepts you need to know. Know the name of your Google account and the password. Try and only have one email account with your Google account, and don't share your email address. Till we see you again, have a great day. All right. Thank you anyway, I put in the chat an excellent article written by Mike McAvoy on multiple Google email addresses with one Gmail account. So it is possible, but I'd like you to, if you are considering that, you should read this article. It's a very, very good article. I'm also going to put it in our newsletter tomorrow. If there may be some questions about this, and we can certainly ask them. You can certainly ask those in the Q&A. Hewie, are you ready to roll?
I am, and I'm even not muted.
There you go.
Wonders never cease.
Yeah.
Find my video here. How to transfer files from Android to PC. I'm Hewie Poplock. Do you need to learn how to transfer files from an Android phone to a PC? It's easy with the right tricks. You have a photo on your Android phone or tablet, and you need to get it to your PC. How do you do this? Perhaps you resort to emailing the photo or file. You can upload photos to Google Photos and then download them to your PC. That's the way I've been doing it for years. As it turns out, you have several options, such as a USB cable, Bluetooth, and Cloud Sync. And alternatively, you might use an app like AirDroid or PushBullet. Put simply, transferring files from Android to a Windows PC isn't difficult. I'm going to talk about 2 ways to help you copy files from your Android phone to your PC: Bluetooth and using a USB cable. Let's get started. Here is my PC desktop. You'll notice on the left is my Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. It is connected to my PC via Bluetooth. Now, I'm not going to demonstrate how to make that connection happen. If you have issues with it, you'll see at the bottom a link to an article that will help you make that connection. What you want to do is make sure by swiping down that here at the top, Bluetooth is turned on. Swipe back up, and now we're going to come down here and look here, and you want to make sure the Bluetooth is turned on your PC. Another way to do it is to go to your settings, go to Bluetooth and devices, and make sure your Bluetooth is turned on. And then you want to make sure what the name of the device is as it's seen by Bluetooth. And you want to make sure your phone is connected. Now that we know that they are connected, let's go ahead and close out the settings. We want to take a photo that we recently snapped on our phone and make a copy on our PC and do it very quickly and easily. The first way we're going to do that is with Bluetooth. Let's take a look at what we do. What we're going to do is come down here to the lower right. We're going to go to the Bluetooth and hold our mouse over it and click it. And we're going to tell it we want to receive a file. It's now waiting for that file. Now we're going to go to our gallery, which is right here on page 2. We'll click on the gallery. We're going to take this picture, and we want to come down here to where it says share. That's the share sign. You click on it. You're going to share to Bluetooth. Now, Bluetooth may not be on this line. You may have to go over and slide across. This is what I had to do to get it there, and go to more and click on more, and then you will see the Bluetooth there. If you don't see it in this line, and it could be anywhere on the line, but because it was the last one I checked, or the last one I used, it's showing up right here. So when I click this, it says, okay, what device? You'll see that it's waiting to do something. Check to make sure the connection device is visible to other devices. We're going to click on the desktop. We click on it. You can see the transfer is starting. Then it wants to know where do you want that. It's transferred it, but it's putting it, it's temporary. You can move it to wherever you want. Let's go ahead, and we're going to go to this PC, Documents, down to Tech for Senior, and to today's date. And then we're going to say OK, and then finish. Now if we look in that folder, and I already have it set up so I can look right at the folder, there is the file. If I click on it and open it, there's the picture. And right now it's at 30%. It's a huge picture. It is 4,000 by 3,000 pixels. So it's a big picture. I can, blow it up. I can go in. I can do whatever I need to do. It's on my PC. So now I can do whatever I need to do for it. And it's available for me. You can do this with any file. And it's very simple, very quick, very easy to make the transfer from your phone to your PC. Next, we're going to take a cable. We're going to plug it into the USB port on our computer, and it asks us, do we want to allow access to the phone data? And we're definitely going to say yes, allow it. So now when we open up this PC, or if you open up File Explorer, you can see that we have the Ultra connected. So if we double click this, you see that it shows the same as an external drive would show. You see the device, and then we click it again. and we see all of the folders that are on the S22 Ultra. We're going to go to DCIM, which are the pictures that we take. We'll click on that, and we're going to go to the camera. It took several seconds to load everything. We have almost 2,400 photos on our phone in that folder. So we're going to have to come down here to the bottom. Make sure we got it all here. We'll come all the way down to the bottom because it's sorted by date. So click this and take everything by holding the shift key down and clicking here. We will highlight all of the pictures we're going to take or to copy to the PC. We're going to come down here to Documents. We're going to come down to Tech for Senior. And then we're just going to right mouse click, move over to the date. We're going to say copy here. It takes a few seconds. And if we now go to that folder, and there are all of the pictures we just copied, including an MP4, you can see. So let's just open any one of them on the PC. Again, it's a 4,000 by 3,000 pixel picture. We can edit it. We can do whatever we want because it's on the PC now. It's not going to involve the phone at all. We've made the transfer from the phone to the PC. I don't want to leave my iPhone friends out, so we're going to take my iPhone 8. We're going to plug it into the computer using a USB cable, and when I do, I get a notice asking if I would allow it. As soon as I do, it shows up in this PC. When I click on it, I'm seeing the internal storage, similar to what I saw on my Android phone. And when I click on it, it only shows the DCIM, which is the photos. They're in folders. I'm going to take something from last month that's by date. It's 20/22/04. I'm going to just take a particular picture. Let's take this. Not sure what it is. We're going to go to here, and we're going to come down to, and we're going to slide it into the same folder where we saved all of the pictures from the Android. And now we'll click on the Android folder, and we will see the image 0567 that we just copied. And if we open that picture up, that picture is now on the PC, ready to be edited. So it's very quick and easy to move pictures from your iPhone to your PC via cable without having to upload to Google Photos or any other cloud storage and then download them. You can do it directly with a USB cable that connects to your iPhone. Transferring your files from an Android to a PC. I'm Hewie Poplock. There you go. You're muted, Ron.
I'm just unmuting myself. I got to find the button. Thanks, Huey. That's great. I have a couple of questions for you, but I'm going to save those for the Q&A. Just before we get into Ray's final music outro, I want to just remind everyone that we do have a premiere service going on today that will be, of course, half past the hour. I put the link in the chat. We also have, it also went out in our newsletter. If you haven't subscribed to the newsletter, you should do so. But the link is in the chat. Today, I'm going to be talking on, we have just under 600 videos with Tech for Senior, and it's sort of a big production now, and organizing and navigating your way around can be a bit difficult. So So I have a video out that I did about a year ago on organizing Tech for Senior, which we'll be playing today. Dewey's going to talk on hearing aids. He says, what did you say? And he's going to tell us all about hearing aids. And Huey's going to talk on the Chromebook keyboard. The Chromebook keyboard is a little bit different than PC, so he goes through some of the differences of a Chromebook keyboard. This is a free service. We'll be starting at 1/2 on our YouTube channel at that link that I gave everyone. I want to thank everyone over on our YouTube service for coming today. If you want to hop over, we've got 73. We've got lots of room for you. If you want to hop over here and participate in the Q&A, you're most welcome to do so. We'll do that. We're going to stop our YouTube feed now as Ray gets ready to go with our music segment. So take it away, Ray.
All righty. Thank you. All right, the best-selling music artists of all time. Now, there was a time when it was easy to determine how high up the charts a particular song could climb. It was simply based on how many either 78 and 45 RPM discs were sold. By the time the early 60s came around, LP sales also factored into the equation if the song was included on a released album. But then let's remember, as the decades passed, all these new formats we've experienced over the years, 8-tracks, cassettes, compact discs, video purchases, digital downloads, streaming, these all come into play and needed to be counted towards a song's chart success. In order to quantify these various sales mediums, the term total certified units began to be used in the calculation. Now, this sales number was often different from the claimed sales put forth by the record label, since they often counted albums shipped, but not necessarily sold. Now, the Recording Industry Association of America, commonly known as RIAA, they coined the term gold record back in 1958. And that was simply based on the record label confirming the dollar sales amount for a particular song exceeded $1 million. Now, today, the awards using these precious metals names differ by country and are based on copies sold. Now, to the left is a chart that represents the USA, and terms like double platinum would mean that 2 million units were sold for an album or a single. Now, for those interested in more detailed information on this topic, you will want to check out the corresponding Wikipedia pages. But according to Wikipedia, these are the top 5 artists of all time. Beatles are number 1, Elvis Presley, then Michael Jackson, Elton John, and Madonna. Now, with the Beatles as the best-selling music artist of all time, what is their highest-selling single? Well, in the UK, it is clearly She Loves You. While this song was also immensely popular in the USA, the longest charting single was Hey Jude. That stayed on the Billboard Hot 100 for a then record-setting 19 weeks in 1968. Now, I'm including links to the full versions of both these songs, but due to our normal time constraints, I've edited the video for Hey Jude by Paul McCartney, so it'll fit nicely in this segment. There's a lot of people there.
It must be an incredible experience to play for a crowd like that. I mean, it gives you quite a sense of I don't know what you would call it, but wow, you know.
I think it's an incredible experience to be standing there for 3 or 4 hours with no place to go.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Ray. That's great. Another great music outro. Thanks so much. Well, we will be, of course, moving into our Q&A now. But before we get started there, I want to thank everyone for coming today. Again, we do appreciate you being here. We will be back next week, same time, same place. So please come back and see us. We will also have Bill James on our Thursday show, Tech for Senior Live. Now, those of you who want to watch the show, if you come here to our Zoom meeting, you'll be waiting till next Monday, all right? Because it's not a Zoom meeting, all right? The Thursday show is not a Zoom meeting. It's a broadcast to YouTube and our Facebook channel. So if you want to find the links to that, just go over to our web page and click the button, and you'll come right to our channel, or either our Facebook or our Facebook page, or of course our YouTube channel, and you'll be able to watch the show on Thursday. I think that's about it. Don't forget our premiere service at 1:30. That'll be starting. It's free. You have the link in the show notes or in the chat, and so we'll work on that. I'm going to open it up to questions, and I get to ask Hewie the first question. Hewie, I have a question for you.
Okay.
In the transfer using a USB cord or cable, I guess we have to be careful on what USB cable that we use, because as Dewey pointed out a while ago, not all USB cables are the same, and I have had problems transferring files back and forth on specific cables, and I think you have to be careful with that on
Absolutely.
what cable you use, because one of my video cameras that I was trying to transfer a cable on, I was using the USB cable it came with, and it wouldn't transfer the file, and I thought there was something wrong and I couldn't figure it out, and I simply changed the cable and it worked just fine. So be careful with cables.
Yeah, some cables are just for charging and they're
Right.
not for data. So you
That's
do have
right.
to be careful. So if it doesn't work,
Just
check with
change the
another,
cable.
using another cable.
Used another cable and see what
Yeah,
happens.
and
Yeah.
also Sandy put in the chat, can you send it from your PC to your phone? And that's what I just, while the music was playing in the background, I went ahead and tested it and it worked fine. So I
So
was
you
able
can
to
go
do that using Bluetooth. So I'm sure you can do it with the
good. So it goes both ways. Then it goes both
Oh, you can
ways.
go both ways. Yes.
Okay, great. Very good. Now, the other question I had is I put in the chat the article on using multiple Google email addresses with one Gmail account. And the reason I did that segment today is because of my 10 years of Silver Ridge Computer Club in Mesa, Arizona, working in the tech department. One of the biggest problems I saw when people come in with mobile, particularly mobile phones, for example, is multiple email addresses which change the accounts in the phone, and they got horribly confused. And I got confused, they got confused, Google got confused, everyone was confused. So it is possible to do it. Don't get me wrong. And there are situations where, of course, you might have a business account and a personal account, and there are times when you want different Google accounts. And I do appreciate that. But for most people, I'll get to you in a second. For most people, they often create a second email address just because, well, they're going to use that for signing up for newsletters and stuff where they don't want to get spam. But what you're doing in most cases is setting up a second Google account, which means you have two Google Photos accounts. You have two of everything. So you're going to have problems when you're using your mobile device. Now, this article, it is possible to have multiple email addresses with one Gmail account, but most people don't do it that way. And this article will explain how to do it. I like to keep things simple. I mean, it is real simple, because chasing Google Photos around and multiple Google accounts with multiple Google Photos accounts can get really complicated. So that's why I did the article today on that. Bill, go ahead.
Good explanation, Ron. I know I have that problem because as a APCUG advisor, I have another Gmail account,
Right.
and I'm frequently having to keep those separate. So it's a good point. It really becomes complicated if you end up with two Gmail accounts.
Well, it doesn't, particularly if on a mobile phone, because the phone doesn't really know who you are. The way it knows who you are is who you're logged in with. And if you go and you log into another account, then it's going to think you're another person, which will activate the Google Photos account. So you have to make very sure that that your Google Photos are going into the right account, or they're not going to be there, right?
Very true.
George, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yep, fine.
Yeah, it's a good presentation because our group at the Victoria Computer Club does a lot of help of people. Generally speaking, if we can keep them in one universe,
That's right.
it's better.
That's right. Exactly. That's right.
You know, either the Google universe.
That's right.
Unfortunately, Microsoft doesn't have a phone in their universe, so that
Right.
makes life a little difficult.
Right.
But Apple universe or one comment I've got is when you're describing not to share your Gmail address, it would perhaps be better to say don't share your Gmail account password. People might mistakenly think that,
Right.
well, I better not hand out my Gmail email address.
Right. That's right. Yes,
That's
you're
about
absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. And I sort of, after I got the whole video produced, I was looking at that. I thought you're right. I don't want to go back and change it, but you're absolutely right. Hewie, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple of things about Gmail accounts. At one time, I had 20, 25 Gmail accounts for business purposes. And yes, it is difficult to keep track of them, especially if you use different passwords for all of them.
Yes.
So I had a list of all of them and their passwords, and every once in a while I'd have to change them for one reason or another. I've got it down now to a manageable number, but whenever I open up YouTube, I can go to my account picture, and one of the choices there is change accounts. So for YouTube, I have several YouTube accounts that I manage. One for CFCS, one for my personal stuff, and then one for another group, and so on. So I can switch between them. And yes, sometimes it does become confusing, but I can do that, and it is not difficult. And then I also, at one time, owned a domain name and was able to use any address I wanted with that domain name, and they switched to Gmail. And so it's a Gmail account that is still grandfathered in, but next month it goes away. So I got to start paying for it. But it's a type of account where you can have multiple addresses with the same account. So there's a way of doing that as well, but there is a fee involved in that.
So the lady who was came in with said her Samsung phone wasn't syncing with her laptop, and it was a Google Photos problem. When she and it's because when, of course, she came down to Mesa, Arizona, she was, of course, logging with her phone. She was logging into the church's Gmail account and sort of dealing with her Gmail for the church. Well, it was the funniest thing was, of course, she insisted that the church didn't have a Google Photos account. But when we looked in the church's Google Photos account, it not only had her pictures, it had the last secretary's picture and the secretary before. So they were all falling into the same trap, right? So it gets complicated, and I like George's keep it simple and keep in one ecosphere, because otherwise it's difficult. Carl, go ahead.
Yeah, what comment and a question. Whenever I hear you and Bill James talk about Microsoft or Google capabilities, I feel like I'm going to a Sunday brunch and I don't know what to take. And I realize that my plate is so full that I can't eat it all either. And maybe at the end, and I know your time is limited, but you have to tell me what I learned from that session, like a review. The second thing is on, I see a pop up from Google saying that they're eliminating Hangouts and they're coming up with chat. I've never used Hangouts, so what's that about, Ron?
Well, Hangouts is a messaging service that is gone. It was being used, but it's now integrated into chat, and it's a change that Google is making. I think if you probably never used Hangouts, then you'll never. It's just gone. Google's had a long history of trying to do different messaging services, so they've really combined this, and they're putting it into chat, which of course will be integrated into Meet, which of course will be integrated into the new Gmail menuing system as well. So they're trying to make it very easy for you.
Thank you.
All right, Elaine, go ahead.
Unmuted.
Nope, we can hear you.
Okay. I was wondering if it is possible to prevent Google from synchronizing all of these different Google things from device to device. We have 5 computers and 5 email addresses with AOL. And I know you don't like AOL, and you told me don't use AOL, but if I can only use one Gmail account, for instance, one computer only does banking and investment business, and I don't want to have a Gmail email that I use for that plus other things. Is it possible if I only use that computer for only that Gmail email and account that I can keep it from getting bollocksed up with all the others?
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember that if you're only using that one computer for Google services and you're not using your other computers for Google services, then it's not going to be synced, right? But for sure, one of the things that you can do is turn off, if you have a phone and you have Google Photos on the phone, just turn off the syncing part so that it doesn't send all your photos up to the cloud. Keep them locally on your phone, and then
is that on the settings, or where do I find that?
Yeah, it's in the setting. It's in the Google Photos setting.
Okay.
And that's one of the things that's if you are going to use multiple accounts on your phone, one of the things on my phone, I have it set that as soon as I take a picture, it goes to Google Photos, right? It just goes up to the cloud every time I take a picture.
I think that's what ours does too.
Yeah, it goes. Well, what you want to do is you don't want that if you're changing between accounts, right? Because if you take a picture on your phone, bingo, it's gone to the church account, or bingo, it's gone to a different account. So I would just turn that off until now. Also within Google Photos, in the settings part right at the top, you'll see it tells you what account it's going into. So it is what you might want to do is maybe at the end of the week, just make sure you're in the right account, hit the sync button, and then it will sync them all to the correct account, right? But that's the problem, that it's mostly a Google Photos problem, and that pictures are going into the wrong account. And this gets really a problem if you have multiple email accounts. Like you've just set up an account. If you set up an email for spam and you want to just go out there and you're going to just use this one account, but really what you really did is you set up a whole new Google account, right? So you've got 2 now, and now, or maybe 3 or 4, or how many you've got. And now, well, it's only now AOL isn't Google, right? So this is only with Google because it has all these services associated with the account.
But you told me to stop using AOL.
That's true. That's true. It's an old system. So I think that so what you want to make sure is those photos go into the right account, because if you get them into the wrong account, it can be you can't just move them over to the right account. It's not that easy. So, and it can be a big problem. I spent 10 years doing this at TechSport, and it's a common problem people come in with. Common. George probably will attest to that as well, because we saw that, it's very confusing for people. Plus, don't forget your Google Drive and all the stuff you want to, put into different locations. What Google Drive is it going in? Is it going into my first email address, my second email? Which Google account is all this going into? So it gets really confusing.
I also, though, don't want to have the computer that I use for web surfing even have a record of the fact that I have that Google account that I would use for banking and investments. Is that going to be visible on all the computers?
Yeah, and one of the things you can do as well with Chrome, if you're using the browser Chrome, is don't have it syncing. All right, because there's an option in Chrome when you go up, and you can either log into your Google account and have it sync to your Google account or not, right? So one of the things you may want to do is turn the syncing off with Chrome if you're using
Ron, Ron, one other thing that I caution everybody that, or let them know that they should be able to do is that you can sign out of any of the Google
Right.
accounts.
Right.
So if you've got two accounts open on one computer, go ahead and log out of one of them.
Right.
And so it won't connect to it at all.
It's not as bad, it's not as bad on a PC. It does work better, but on a mobile phone, it is disastrous because you don't really know where you are. At least it's often very confusing what account you're in. So it is really a problem on the mobile devices.
Okay, but the Chrome browser, if I put the Chrome browser on the banking computer and then tell it not to sync, that account shouldn't show up at all on any of the other computers or the phone.
That's
Thank you.
Okay. Dorothy, go ahead.
Hi, great presentations, everyone. I have a question. How complicated is it if I change my Google password when I have a multiple Android phones, tablets, Chromebook? I'm afraid of getting locked out.
No, the password thing is easy to do.
It is.
It'll sync all across the service. You only have to change it. Just change it once.
Just change it on one device.
Yeah, you can change your password change. You can't change the name of the account, but you can change the password. It's easy to do. And I would encourage you to have two-factor authentication also turned on.
Yeah, so would I do that would it be easier to do it through the Google settings on the computer?
It's exactly the same. It's in the security settings. It's change your password and set up two-factor authentication. It's all right within the same place.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's all right there. So changing your password is not a problem, and it will change it. If you have a Chromebook, it'll change it on all the services, right? It changes for the whole thing. So don't worry about that. You don't have to change on each Google service that you do.
That's a feature if you're synced.
That's right.
Yeah.
If you're not synced, then it won't work, and you're going to have to change them individually.
Right.
It'll be 104 here today.
Oh yeah, where are you? Are you down south still?
I'm still in Mesa.
Oh, 104. Ew,
106 yesterday.
Oh, it's going to be beautiful in Victoria today.
Good. Thanks.
There you go. Any other questions before we go? That's it. Well, hopefully we've covered everything. That's great. Well, we'll see everybody back again next week. Thank you for coming, and don't forget, in another 10 minutes or another 13 minutes, we'll have our premiere service. So if you want to watch what we have today for you, please do so. Otherwise, we'll see you in another week. All right. Bye now. Bye-bye, everyone.
Come on, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.